Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition. I'm not really sure whether to call this an episode, installment of Arsenal Pass, let's say. I've brought on two of my colleagues in the Flesh and Blood space. You may be familiar with them, Ethan Van Sant and Sam O'Byrne, from the coverage team, from the production side of things, bringing you lovely coverage of this great game. And one of us, Ethan in particular, has had a very special announcement recently, so we decided to get him on and grill him a little, ask him some questions about what is going on, and just congratulate him on his major achievement. But before that, how are the two of you doing?
Oh, Pankaj, thank you for the intro. I am doing fantastic. I love being surrounded by, I guess, just colleagues, as you said.
Yeah, we're not
For
friends.
this, not friends.
Strictly formal relationship, really.
Strictly
Very
Yeah.
work
professional.
relationships. But it is a really great series of days I've had with the trip to Brazil to now, finally settling in back at home, getting to talk with you guys, and then off to celebrate a little bit of July 4th. So it's a great week.
Yeah. I'm feeling great. Pankaj, I don't know if you remember, but when I got hired at LSS, you and Hayden both told me like, "Hey, we really want to get you on Arsenal Pass." And so I waited and I twiddled my thumbs and I was so excited. And little did I know, it actually just took Ethan also getting hired at LSS for you to actually bring me on. So I'm glad to finally, get a chance to talk with you as we get to celebrate my boy.
Yeah, it's really a congrats for both of you. You are right. You are right, Sam. We kind of did miss that one, but okay, you're on now, and now we can all talk about both of you
No,
getting
this
hired
this
officially.
is about no, this is about the big man. This is
Yeah.
about the big man.
So
I'm just giving you some crap.
I'll take it. I do deserve it. I get that a lot. So, okay, Ethan, I want to start with what does merger mean? I'm not a very finance kind of person, so it kind of just sounds like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo to me. Like I've definitely heard the term merger and acquisitions. Actually, my brother's a consultant. He works in that exact field, but I don't fully understand what it means. So, in terms of your, I don't know, your day to day, how does this change for you?
Well, yeah. So the piece of news to begin with really was like the acquisition of Savage Feats by Legend Story Studios, which as like an article that went on ICV2, I mean, it definitely caught a lot of eyes, and it was big news, obviously, for my life, and uh, hopefully, something that a lot of people in the flesh and blood world will understand is a good change overall. I did get some questions personally about like what this means, and let me just say, like, it is a fantastic change for my life, for the future of Flesh and Blood as well. But basically, LSS now has a production arm, and they already did to some degree, like kind of underneath marketing. Sam's been the creative producer, right? But now there is a production arm that Savage Feats has really kind of been enveloped into to just continue working on these shows, connect a lot more behind the scenes as well, more directly with the marketing team, more directly with some of the other people that get roped in for when we really want to put on a good show, like the videographers that we can hire. It's just adding a lot of communication to the departments and really fleshing out like what a production team that focuses on Flesh and Blood can really work on with more like full-time attention given to it. So it's yeah, I mean, Savage Feats is just owned by Legend Story Studios now, and I have been put on full time as a technical producer with Nathan, my business partner, who is also, I'm gonna call him a great friend. If you all are my colleagues, he's another level. He's my great friend, and he is also part of this acquisition, at least for kind of like a retainer status, as he has a pretty significant job and was always just my homie, my shadow partner, and all this. He's still there, but not quite as full time as the role that I will be having. So it's good news. It's good news all around.
So yeah, Sam, we kind of just got put in a place over here by Ethan. We're
100
we're the mere colleagues, and the other one's the pal. So
100%.
I have a follow up question to that. So you mentioned the
Sure.
production arm for LSS. Does that mean was there a production arm beforehand, or is you getting acquired by them now the establishment of the production arm?
I would say, I guess this is more formally the production arm. Obviously, there are a lot of people who like worked on the productions, right? That's what Sam's job has been. Before him, it was Cedric. Matt. A lot of the marketing team has always like worked in this, but to have like more direct control over the production is like what now this arm is, right? Like we just completely can control how the productions are going to work rather than contracting out, whether that was a third party like Savage Feats or any other company prior.
Okay, so I'd like to ask for like, what are the differences or changes that we can, I guess, maybe expect or look forward to? Because I think from the outside perspective, you are already the go-to, right? Any sort of big production, it's already Savage Feats, right? We have Pro Tours, world premieres. You're already always there. So what does this entail in terms of like a difference from the outside perspective? Is it as it seems like you alluded to a lot more creative control? Is it in line with that kind of thing, or is it in line with maybe, I don't know, somehow even more production? I don't know how you could fit that in with your schedule. You kind of flying around every other weekend.
There are going to be more productions if you paid attention to any of like the maybe quiet announcements that happened at US Nationals. There are big plans for 2026. So obviously like this plays to some degree towards some of those goals. As for what it unlocks on the behind the scenes, it's really a lot more conversations and like prep work that can be honed in on and just, I guess, perfected almost. If you can even chase perfection in this, it's always something you iterate on. It's live streams, it's hard to be perfect, but there's already tons of input from these different teams within LSS, be it OP, be it marketing, be it a suggestion from some like Brian, who's got tons of legacy in the casting space. Just being able to actually work on that in the weeks, the time like leading into events, rather than we do the event, get feedback, try to work on the next one. Now we can kind of work on both ends, the prep and the post, rather than just like the post for the next event. I think it's going to smooth over the entire process. And I've also got like personal ideas on how to really unlock more of this like feedback we're looking for. So once some of that gets talked through behind the scenes, I think yeah, there's just going to be a lot actually that's going on in this role, and hopefully the viewer experience reflects that.
Yeah, totally. Like you said, Pankaj, we already, once I got started, literally one of the first things I did was talk to everybody who could listen and be like, I'm locking down Ethan for the year for most of our shows. And I just wanted to make that formalized. I wanted Ethan to know the work he was going to do. I knew how incredible of a job he did. And now it really is just all under the LSS umbrella. Pretty much, I mean, every live stream for the foreseeable future that we put out, Ethan will be behind, like in its entirety. And in terms of the output, you can really expect a consistency across all of our live streams now, because we have it's in-house. In terms of what it really changes for us, like Ethan said, it's just a streamlining of everything. Now it's not, I'm talking to Ethan and then I'm talking to my coworkers and then I'm going between. It's like we're all just on the team. And when we invest in Ethan, we're just investing in ourselves in a different way, where we were watching Ethan grow and watching Savage Feats become kind of the industry standard. And now it's not like, okay, what happens if Ethan wants to do something else? It's like, no, now we have the industry standard locked up in-house. And like he was mentioning, LSS has been developing stuff. They put some great content out at the office. Alex and the team that's in-house in marketing really puts on some great productions internally. But a lot of the stuff that happened outside of Auckland, we were contracting for. And now it all just can work together. Each can affect the other and can influence in good ways, and everybody can talk and iterate and get better together. It's just going to make things a lot easier, which I think will, in not too distant of the future, make things even better.
You mentioned now there's going to be more consistency across the streams, but if I know Ethan, somehow it's going to keep improving every other stream anyway, so we'll see about the consistency.
Yeah, watch Singapore. Watch Singapore.
Oh.
And then watch Worlds, The tier 4s definitely lead the charge in terms of like what we're trying to push. So hopefully you also
mentioned Brian just now, which actually reminded me of a question I wanted to ask. It's not actually related to Brian, but it just popped in my head. I was like, oh, I need to ask both of you this actually. What in the world are your actual official titles? Because you know how with Brian, you're always just like, wait, what's the title again? It's like he's the senior designer lead developer.
Yeah, but Brian leans into it.
So what are you guys?
Brian leans into it. He loves it. He's like, oh, I'm the, I'm just, what do you even call me these days? It's going up. So no, I'm kidding.
Just the guy who didn't ban anything this past BNR. Sorry, what? Yeah. So what are your official titles?
Yep. Mine is just coverage producer, producing the live streams and the coverage of our game.
That's news to me. I thought you were creative producer, coverage producer.
No,
I'm
coverage
technical producer. Technical producers. There we go.
Got it.
producer.
Okay,
Both-
coverage producer, technical producer. Cool. Okay, so now that we've got your technical names out of the way, I want to touch a little bit on the two of y'all's like relationship within the company now, since now you are both officially hired. Sam, you alluded to this a little bit earlier. We were talking about how you're kind of all just investing in each other now, but I don't know, I'm curious. I feel like so far, we've all been part of this production team. It's felt very, very almost. It hasn't felt super formal, in a sense. It kind of has just kind of felt like we're kind of vibing. It feels like when we started. What was the first stream we did? Was it Orlando? Was it? What was the first stream we did? Like the three of us together.
Ever indie.
No,
Indie. It was
Indie.
indie. Yes. Why do I think it was
Yeah,
one?
We had a couple even before that, Pankaj.
Yes.
When we finally let Sam in, it was indie. Yes.
Yeah.
So it felt like the vibe was kind of similar. I think once Sam became officially hired as well, it did become a little bit more like, okay, there's a little bit more formality there. And like, is that also going to happen now, like behind the scenes with now both of you like under LSS? Like, what does it mean for the two of y'all's relationship with each other is I guess what I'm getting at.
It means it just gets even stronger. The bonds of friendship forged by the bonds of professionalism. That's as simple as I can put it, Pankaj. No,
Okay.
I mean,
So no longer just colleagues then. All right.
yeah. No, I mean, listen, there's honestly, I think Ethan and I, we've talked a lot throughout this year. We've been working together all year, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've both been really pleased with the level of collaboration, understanding who's good at what, who should make the final call on what, and we just work together really well. Like you mentioned, India was a couple years ago now. We've been coming up together, and we've been doing this together a long time, and we've worked together a lot. All three of us have worked together a lot, but I know pretty well how Ethan likes to work. He knows how I like to work. I really think it's going to be mostly how we've been doing it, just with a little more ease on everybody's part. But Ethan might chime in now and be like, "No, I can't wait to change everything. I hate this guy."
He is a perfectionist and has an incredible amount of detail, so I wouldn't be surprised. It's a incredible attention to detail. So,
Thank you. I would say what it means for my position in this is I don't only have Sam to talk to, and I like talking to Sam, but sometimes to punch a little higher is going to be warranted, and now I have those avenues, I guess. But it will mainly be Sam and I, producer, right? Really working together on the shows, ideating together. And now I just have more people I can reach out to for anything outstanding, which is going to be great. I mean, that was actually a pretty big bottleneck on my end. Was I had Sam I could talk to, and I had Nathan that I could talk to, and sometimes that wasn't enough. Rarely, because to be fair, those are two very capable people. But now there's just more connections, more people to get input from. And that all in all is just going to lead to a better process. So
that's really, really cool. I'm so excited. And I do actually, Ethan, I did want to ask you one thing. It's not related to Fab. It's actually quite separate. It's just I remember when you started this venture, you did mention that perhaps one of your visions, or I wouldn't say goal, but I think you saw a potential path down the line where Savage Feeds becomes a full-on production company, and you don't only produce Fab games. Like you maybe get hired by other games, for example, like Magic, for example, or any other TCG, or maybe even other like forms of content entirely. Like I think at one point you were doing like a TV internship, right? Like on a TV production show thing. So where's that at now? Is the LSS acquisition now, has that taken over and now this is the path going forward? Or like what's up with that part of a potential vision that you had a few years ago?
Right. So basically any like outside work is just not really possible anymore. Like Savage Feats is not independently contractable. It is completely like underneath LSS's direction. So prior to this, there were like gentle aspirations of maybe doing other games, and we did tried a couple of things with Alpha Clash. We're reached out to by a couple other TCGs as well. But in reality, like I love Flesh and Blood. I really wanted to only be doing Flesh and Blood, and with the amount of events that was pretty much like kind of hitting capacity already, like being on the road 3 weeks a month or something is already kind of the ceiling of what you can pull off. And Flesh and Blood was reaching there. So the expansion would have been to really flesh out the team, maybe at some point, flesh out, like our own understanding of these other games. And it just kind of teetered off. It didn't become something that Nathan and I were really pursuing in the end, but there were periods, I think mainly last year, where that was potentially goals for us. Not really anymore. Flesh and Blood, especially once Sam got hired, actually really locked arms with us for the most part, and like made the schedule feel really good, and made that all kind of come together. So it wasn't really a goal in the end, and also not something that's really going to happen anyway. So yeah, Flesh and Blood gets all the Savage Feats, and we're just gonna keep making it better. That's the whole goal.
Cool. I want to touch on what you mentioned about potential expansion, like in the current scope of things. And this is a question for both of you, really. You mentioned videographers as the people we already do have for like Pro Tours, which is amazing, right? Like they do for people who don't know, the videographers, what they do is, if you look at every post-match, there's a little short, like 30-second segment before we go to the break screen, which is just recapping what happened in the match with like just the key highlight moments in the match with like awesome music in the back. It's super hype. Go back and watch any of the recent Tier 4 event productions and you know what I'm talking about. So is that the sort of expansion you're talking about, having like a full-time videographer, or what else could this potentially entail when it comes to expansion now that it sounds like you have a lot more control over what the production arm of LSS means? And this is a question for both of you, by the way, not just Ethan, but let's start with Ethan.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a great call out, because that's one of those things where it might be posed as a question. Sam asked, "Is this something we can add to the broadcast?" And then it's completely up to me to figure out an answer. Whereas now it's more visionary, like what can we achieve in the broadcast, and let's figure that out together, rather than like a conversation that's had separately and now I have to go figure it out. Now we can actually try to push the limits of, I mean, there's a lot of restrictions and all this, let's be fair. Logistics are a real thing. Personnel is a real thing, but we now can actually try to reach all those limits together, and perfect it, hopefully. Like you're saying, Pankaj, the first time we kind of enveloped the videographers was in Osaka, and that was not a perfect system yet. And I don't think anyone on the outside could really tell, but on the behind the scenes, compare like how Osaka was to how like the London workflow was, for example. And it's like night and day, because all it really took was boots on the ground, like being able to work with those people for Alex and Aiden, and now, use one event's experience to improve the next. Now it's not necessarily using an event as the testing field, but just the time in between events as the testing field, and making sure that advancements there just land really well and are like really professionally done, and not just within like what I can try to figure out now, what resources can we all pool to figure this out.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like Ethan mentioned earlier, the fact that it isn't just going to be Ethan and I chatting, and then I try to synthesize exactly what Ethan's told me to the people that make the decisions about what gets paid for. It's like now Ethan and I, or just Ethan, can talk to these powers that be and explain visions, just have a quick chat, have a quick conversation, show progress. It just opens up the workflow in such a different way that I can focus on different things. Ethan is, able to just focus and iterate. And it allows, like I kind of mentioned earlier, us to invest and iterate and make choices on how we want to expand. And it's really how we expand, how Flesh and Blood expands, how Flesh and Blood coverage full stop expand, because these are the people that are making the coverage happen, and they are in-house, they are fully a part of it, and they are part of the long-term future. So it just makes it so much more palatable, perhaps, for us to make big investments, bring in cool things, and continue to just grow and evolve.
That is so cool. I mean, both of you have already mentioned that it feels like Flesh and Blood coverage is already like on the industry standard sort of things, and it's just so exciting to hear that there's still so much more going on in the back to like even like improve it even better, to like even beyond, right?
Well, I want like I think Ethan and I both have big dreams of where we want these streams to go, and like he said, logistics are a thing, and there are certain incredible productions out there that perhaps have more resources than we are able to field at this time. And what this dude on this call has done with the limited resources he has had at his disposal has been nothing short of unbelievable and remarkable. When you look at the output that LSS and Savage Feats put out, especially when we really just look at like the game of Fab, covering the two individuals playing the game, the zooms, the hand cams, the incredible, overlays and transitions, these things that Ethan has had such an instrumental hand in developing with significantly less than some of our other, friends in the space. It's mind-boggling. And so now that he'll have a little more support behind him and a little more, than just, waving his flag in the wind, being like, I'm trying to do this. And he now has, the full weight of LSS kind of behind him and able to listen when he has ideas, when he has improvements. And it's not, just his own little ship out there. He's joined the fleet. So it's an exciting time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I am out of like my like little interview questions I had prepared for Ethan. So at this point, I suggest we take off our colleague hats and we actually vibe and hang out. And this is probably the part that the audience was most excited for. And I want to start by asking Ethan something very, very personal, which is a little bit of an inside joke, but I'm sure you can expand on it. Ethan, how does it feel to move past being a backpack streamer?
Oh, this is gonna cause me to crash out on air, Pankaj. You can't do this.
That's the entire point. This is the real content, folks. All this beforehand, little press release ish feel. Now we're kind of just, yep.
These are the questions that I've got to be careful when I answer. I represent a company. I can't be emotional. But let me just say, in the humble beginnings, Pankaj, you were basically there, right? Technically, there was one show that you were not involved in before. And funny enough, you know who was at that first show I ever did as like a backpack streamer? Can someone guess? Who was actually there?
Brian Gottlieb.
Yes, it was Brian Gottlieb. At the first stream I ever did of a Battle Hardened, Brian showed up. And I think I didn't really know who he was. I don't come from Magic. But I had seen him post about Flesh and Blood, and it got a lot of views, like a lot of engagement on Twitter. And I think he had maybe made it public that he was like involved in Arachne. And so this was like the debut Battle Hardened for Dynasty, right? Like Arachne's release. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, like I'm trying to put on coverage for this event. Like, do you want to stop by? And he totally did. At the release weekend event of Dynasty, I put on a truly backpack stream then, and he stopped by and he said some very positive things, but one of them was a job offer that had nothing to do with streaming. He's like, you got to kind of get out of this field, man. I've got a wife who works for Amazon. Maybe you can send her your resume. Like maybe we can, I see your passion. Let's like get you something real going. And I said, hell no, I love my backpack stream and I'm really going to work on it. And so it kind of took off from there slowly because I had a real job back then. But Pankaj, you were then at the next one where it really was still, I think, 2 backpacks at that point. We'd already expanded pretty quickly.
Yeah, I remember helping carry a little bit. I was like, man, this was not what Ethan promised me.
We both carried those bags many times, brother. You and I have both lugged them through the streets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was told I just need to show up and talk. Suddenly he's got me like assembling wires and stuff. I was like, damn.
Yeah. I think that was, it was another Battle Hardened, to be fair, really just piggybacking off of like the SCG circuit. And that was maybe like Battle Hardened New Jersey or something. I forget what it is, but back then it was also early in my Fab journey, and like the reason to reach out to you, Pankaj, was you were just so much better at the game than anyone else I could find on the internet, and I knew I could not carry commentary. I had the vision, but I didn't have the juice. And that was you. So getting you involved in like those really early streams obviously was one of the best decisions you've made, I've made. Like, holy crap. because ask anybody who their favorite caster in Flesh and Blood is, and it's like, oh yeah, sorry, okay, good, you're pointing at Pankaj too. I was worried. It's probably you, Pankaj. So to have taken that journey so early together is pretty special, pretty amazing. But we've all grown so much is kind of the short of it. It's not a backpack stream anymore. It really might have been. Might have caught some flack for it back in the day, but it's not anymore. That's just how it began.
Well, thanks for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Wasn't expecting it. This was supposed to be where Sam and I glaze you, but I'll take it.
Oh.
Thanks for that.
Sure. Well, okay, to glaze Sam, I think like our next event, or maybe the one after that, is when Sam got involved, to be fair. And that really, I mean, look, it's the three of us still after like 3 years or something. And that's pretty exceptional as well, because we were working with very little direction back then, very little knowledge of what the hell the space even is, just a lot of love for the game. And Sam coming through on behalf of AGE, Justin recommended him, and he knew what's up, that's for sure, because Sam also, if you have to ask everyone who their number 2 favorite streamer is, or caster is, it is probably Sam.
Pankaj is my favorite caster. It's okay.
Well, Sam's my favorite caster, so we're 1 for 1 right now.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I have something. I want to join the glaze train. Run from it all you want. Glazing arrives all the same. Ethan, you and I have, and this is something I was expecting to talk to you about in person, but now here we are. But you and I have been together through, I mean, really the lion's share of both of our journeys in this space. Like you just mentioned, we started in indie, and here we are now, and we've really been at so many events together at like every level. Like now we've done Worlds in the Pro Tour, but we've done unofficial streams, we've done calling streams, battle hardens, just like little community streams. And I've been with you at when we've both been like, what the hell are we doing with our lives? We've both been like, I've been like, I'm working 5 jobs. I just started a YouTube channel. You were like, I'm trying to do this and it is not working. And I can like think of, like 3, maybe more times where we've like kind of like done this thing and been like, we'll keep going. Like, I've got you, brother. And I just, looking back throughout all of this time and seeing kind of where you are now with the stability, with the recognition, with the, finally the ground under your feet is stable and you don't have to worry and wonder. You've achieved it, the goal, right? And so I just want, I want to give you a space. You have a bunch of fans out there. I remember watching your streams before we knew each other. I just watched the Sant streams, and I remember being like excited to meet you. I was like, I'm a fan of this guy, and like
that was with glasses and curly hair.
But I want to give you the chance to just talk about that. Talk about landing at this place. Talk about the journey, and for the people who have been invested, like what does it mean to you to finally be here? As I let my cat in, who is screaming incessantly at me.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely cloud 9. I had this whole moment when the article got published just, I believe, 2 days ago, day and a half ago, something like that. I was on the public I was on like the metro, right, in Brazil, trying to get to the airport, and packed into the train like a bunch of sardines. I mean, there's like no room to move. And I'm already like gripping my phone because I'm terrified that if I don't pay attention to it, it might disappear. And I get the notification that the article came out. And even in the midst of like, trying to check in on my surroundings and just like be present, I like completely hit that like nirvana moment of like, oh my God, wait a second, like this actually did just happen. The conversations that had all gone in the background, like I kind of like obviously knew this was coming, but now it was out, and the like just the outpour of support and the DMs that I got, it all hit me like as there's like 8 people like just pushed against my face. I can barely move, and I'm sitting there like feeling just above it all on cloud 9, and I almost cried. Like it was a very emotional moment to just feel how real it had all become. And it was a long journey. It was a lot of very hard work, but in a way that I can really appreciate as like earning the spot, right? Because you have to look at it from the perspective of what is also like an up and coming game studio, LSS breaking all kinds of boundaries, cementing how amazing Flesh and Blood is in the TC industry for hopefully forever. Um, it's hard for them to take risks as well. You know, they need to be very careful. And I feel like what I did in my journey was show them that overall I'm trustworthy. There's moments of crash outs, that's for sure. You've been there, Sam. But overall, I really was someone who was right for this. They agreed, and like finally here we are. But I think the time it took was well warranted. It's been a crazy up and down journey, uh, trying to punch above, trying to control emotion, and just fit in the industry that I don't even come from. Like yeah, it's incredibly special, and I hope it's my life like forevermore, like going forward, right? Like we want LSS to freaking kill it, and I'm happy to be a part of it from hopefully forever.
It's very well deserved and has been a long time coming, as I'm sure a lot of the community has. I mean, they've expressed it. I'm sure a lot of them believe it as well. We're a long time from Mansan getting on a stream and talking about the internet in the venue. We're a long time away from that, and I'm definitely glad for it. So, either of you moving to New Zealand, or what's up with that as like official LSS employees?
Not a chance.
No, I had so many people ask me, like either ask or congratulate. Oh, congrats, man! When are you moving to New Zealand? Like, why would I? You understand that like my job is for mobility's sake. You know how far away New Zealand is from everything. Like, I appreciate that you think I'm just gonna like headquarter there, but absolutely not. Like I don't think I'd want that even if it was offered. I hear enough complaints from Brian about how like every 2 days he's on a flight from New Zealand and it's like 30 hours and miserable. I like flying enough, but New Zealand really is like as far away as possible from the rest of the world. So no, I will stay mobile. Maybe not New York, but mobile in the States, yes.
Sam, any intentions to
Yeah.
move to New Zealand?
No.
Um,
No. I got a YouTube channel. We shooting a video right now right after this. Where am I gonna go?
tragic. I
Gotta
was
be a
hoping one
floater.
of you would move, and I can like bug you to go bug Brian to talk, for like.
You can still
bunch of
bug
stuff.
me to go bug Brian. I think we're both
Yeah,
happy to
but then
bug
you're just
Brian.
sending him a DM, like knocking on his door and walking to his office and yelling at him on my behalf.
Can't do that.
That's what I really want.
Yeah, can't do that. Sorry, man.
Rip.
I will be in Auckland for about 2 weeks though, as part of like Sam, I think you went as well for like the onboarding. They do make it very they make like a very deliberate attempt, bring you in, make sure you know everyone like by name, by face, and just know what the vibe is like at the office. And uh, won't really capture that every day doing remote work, but to have faces behind the name and meet all the incredible people at LSS is still, it's pretty awesome that they prioritize that. So I'm excited. That's coming up right after Singapore for me.
Yeah, Sam, you did that a few months ago, right? I think I remember you messaging me that you're in freaking
Yeah.
LSS office, and you wore the Crown of Providence that they have as well, right?
I did. For but a moment, I knew that if I was attacked, I could safely tuck my arsenal to the bottom and draw a card. And let me tell you, it was sensational. I've never felt so safe in my life.
Mhm.
No, yeah, like Ethan said, they really do make it a priority to bring you out, make you feel part of the team, make sure you know everybody, and it's invaluable. Oh my God, from that point forward, doing all my regular work, I was like, oh, I know you. What's up? And then it was just easier to get work done.
That's really cool. It does feel like the vibe of working at LSS is just like a very friendly and like fun vibe, and it's really nice to know. So with that, I think we've yapped on enough, and I think we should be good to call it in a moment. Are there any closing final thoughts from either of you before we end this?
Yeah, I do want to say, because I've had this question come up as well, like what happens to like the man-sant aspect of all this, and the reality is I don't really know. Part of being a full-time employee is no longer being able to participate in rated events. And I've been working most of them anyway, to be fair. But the PQ here and there, the RTN over there, like I did enjoy really testing for that, and it's just not necessarily something I can really do anymore. So the Levia competitive angle might have to slow down a little bit. I still love her to death. I really enjoy Acilio. I obviously love the game overall, and have been trying this like Project Blue focus, like budget bash content piece. So I'm hoping to keep pursuing that quite a bit. But competitive adventures with Levia are actually over. I've earned all the LL points that I ever will. And actually, it is quite a bit. I have like maybe a third of them are to my name, so I'll hang my hat on that. But yeah, hopefully there's someone else maybe who feels very inspired about doing well with Levia, and I give you my blessing, because my deck list will be for fun and not necessarily for competition.
That's actually such a big loss to a League of Levia. And Ethan, I don't know whether you know this, but I have never had any intention to ever play Levia, but I watch every single one of your Levia deck tech videos, like regardless. Your mutated mass thing, which in my opinion was honestly like a meme, but I still like watch it and know like what you're up to and everything. Will you at least still, make that sort of content even though you're not able to like compete with the deck list that you put up there?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I'm just saying I was fueled a lot by the little bit of competition that I was able to participate in, and actually that is just not possible anymore. So the drive to experiment and test with new cards, hell, the new set has brute cards, right? Like things will change. All that is still there. I just I'm not entirely sure on consistency of or just exactly what it means. This is still like a pretty soon transition from rogue agent to part of LSS. So there's a balancing act on a lot. It's a full-time job as well now. So just little bit of a warning there. It's not gone. Mansant's not gone. And actually speaking to that as well, the Patreon's not gone either. The tokens will still exist. That's allowed. So phew. Cold foil tokens for Levia players will still be out there in the wild.
And the League of Levia will still exist. That's good to hear.
Yes. Oh yeah, of course.
I would say my only closing thought is kind of an exciting one. I thought it'd be as good a time as any to announce that 3 Floating will be transitioning to Levia themed competitive content. We became aware that there was a hole in the space that people, were crying out for a new, person to really shepherd them through an unchanging or an uncertain time. And I just feel like we're the right people to really take up that mantle and, fill the void that Mr. Mansant has left behind. So you guys can look forward to that happening very soon. It's been in the works for a while. So.
Here's what you're recording right now, right after this.
Yeah, dude, that's why they're so quiet, because no one's having fun.
they were just waiting for the monarch to fall and then they can come take over. Well, with that, thank you both of you for joining me on for this very special installment. We'll look behind the scenes. We got the technical producer and coverage producer on. And of course, to congratulate Ethan on his just this incredible milestone that you have totally deserved and has been a long time coming. Thank you everyone for watching, and we hope you enjoyed this little special installment. Let us know what you thought in the comments, and of course, go ahead and congratulate Ethan in the comments as well. We will see you in the next one.
Mansant Media for life.